Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 7. My name is Fani Supriyati, Sinta, and Tri Puspitasari. Wanna be presented about pragmatic dimension as coherent in translation, narrative analysis, and translation. Next slide, Mbak. In the first, I want to tell about coherent in translation. Number 8, translation. Translation is a process of transferring written text from one language to the other language. Number B, coherence. Coherence is something logical of consistent and something that makes sense as a whole. For example of coherence is argument that has no inconsistency. And about consistent in translation. Consistent in translation is original language simply because translators have less clue to inform them if their message is clear as it was originally entered or not. Next. Okay, it is about the technique of coherence, have a 5 point, and the point of number 1 is coherent in repetition. Coherent is repetition. Repetition is repeating keyword in a paragraph is an important technique for achieving cohesion, but used skillfully and selectively as in the paragraph. The technique can hold sentence together and focus the readers. Example, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. And number 2, coherent in synonym. Coherent in synonym is a word that has the same or nearly the same meaning as another word. I know you are already understand about the synonym, but I want to tell more. When the word of Russell have some meaning, we say that they are synonym of each other. For example, synonym of beautiful is pretty, lovely, attractive. Number 3 is coherent in pronoun. Pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. Pronouns can do all of the things that noun can do. They can be subject, direct subject, indirect subject, an object of the proposition, and more. For example, for coherence pronoun is he, she, it, they, and someone. I think that's all for me. And point number 4 and 5 will be told by my friend.
Okay, point 4. Point 4 is transitional word. There are many words in the language that cue the readers to relationship between sentence, joining sentence together. Example, I like autumn, and yet autumn is a sad time of the year too. The leaves turn bright, shades of red, and the weather is mild. But I cannot help thinking shed to the, shed to the winter and to the ice storm that will surely blow through here. And the last is sentence pattern, sometimes repeated or parallel. Sentence pattern can help the reader follow along and keep ideas tied together. Sentence pattern adalah konstruksi yang terdiri dari subjek dan predikat yang membentuk suatu pikiran yang utuh. Jadi contohnya yang pertama adalah subjek plus intransitif. Contoh katanya adalah she runs. Dan yang kedua adalah subjek plus verb transitif plus direct object. Nah, transitive verb ini membutuhkan direct object sebagai penerima aksi dari kata kerja. Contoh katanya adalah the children play the game. Okay, next, coherence and translation. Understanding meaning between participants of a natural discourse is based on the process of linking interactions in a coherent way. This doesn't mean that utterance must be between participants to specify the nature of the utterance. Coherence juga diartikan sebagai pengaturan gagasan, ide, atau fakta yang menjadikan kenyataannya agar lebih rapi menjadi serangkaian kata yang logis sehingga kandungan pesan di dalamnya lebih mudah dipahami. Nah, dalam wacana dihubungkan oleh satu kesatuan makna yang utuh. Contohnya seperti ini. Pak Joni ingin menanam jagung di ladangnya. Ladang Pak Joni sangat luas. Pak Joni lebih memilih menanam jagung karena tanaman tersebut memiliki nilai jual yang tinggi. Dalam wacana itu terdapat koherensi karena kalimat di dalamnya memiliki satu kesatuan yang utuh. And next, coherence in a translated text Quran. Coherence translation are essentially objective translation for trying to translate what is available. It doesn't add up, detract, or beautify. This variety translation only wants to move the meanings and style of the text BSU, bahasa sumber, into the text of BSA atau bahasa sasaran. The language of BSU cannot be scarified as long as it is understood within the BSA. Many verses of the Quran is a figure of speech that actually means instantly understood. So the Indonesian text still reflects the Quran text. For example, Quran Surat Al-Baqarah ayat 223 yang bunyinya Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nisa'ukum hatsun lakum faktu hatsakum annasyi'atum waqaddimu anfusikum watakumullah wa'lamu annakum mulaquhu wa basyiril mu'minin. And the meaning are your wives are a place of showing of seed for you. So come to your place of cultivation, however you wish, and put forth right righteousness for yourself, and fear Allah, and know that you will make him, and give good tidings to the believers. Contoh ayat di atas terdapat kata nisa ukum yang kalau diterjemahkan adalah artinya istri-istrimu. Kata nisa merupakan bentuk jamak dari arti perempuan atau wanita. Meskipun kata wanita dan perempuan memiliki perbedaan, tetapi semuanya memiliki unsur kesesuaian ciri-ciri semantik antara unsur leksikal yang satu dengan unsur leksikal yang lain. Kemudian ayat tersebut diterjemahkan sesuai dengan bunyi teks. Apa adanya dengan tidak membubuhkan kata seperti yang mengandung arti perumpamaan, dan makna ayat tersebut dapat dipahami meskipun tanpa ada penambahan atau pengurangan atau mempercantik gaya bahasa Indonesia. Sedangkan terjemahan komunikatif lebih bersifat subjektif karena berusaha menciptakan efek pikiran dan tindakan pada pembaca BSA. Dengan demikian, terjemahan itu mengakibatkan hilangnya sebagian makna BSU atau bahasa sumber. Menurut Newmark, kata mempunyai makna yang luas, serta menimbulkan tafsiran yang beragam. Oleh karena itu, setiap penyederhanaan dalam terjemahan komunikatif selalu mengakibatkan hilangnya sebagian makna itu. Pada kenyataannya, terjemahan Al-Quran Departemen Agama RI tetap menganut dua prinsip di atas, karena ragam terjemahan yang diembannya tidak sebatas terjemahan harafiah, melainkan terjemahan semantis, idiomatis, dan komunikatif, yang semuanya bisa dan mungkin terjadi. Hal itu disebabkan oleh teks Al-Quran sebagai teks keagamaan yang membentuk prosa dan bahasa yang puitis. Di samping itu, teks Al-Quran mengandung ajaran-ajaran teologis yang tentunya akan berpengaruh dalam memahami teks aslinya dan bagaimana menetapkan terjemahannya di dalam Al-Quran. Okay, next with my friend.
Okay, next narrative analysis. Narrative analysis is a genre of analytic frames whereby researchers interpret stories that are told within the context of research and or are shared in everyday life. Scholars will conduct this type of analysis make it first yet equally substantial and meaningful interpretation and conclusion by focusing on different elements. Jadi naratif adalah genre kerangka analitik di mana peneliti menginterpretasikan cerita yang diceritakan dalam konteks penelitian dalam kehidupan sehari-hari. Okay, next slide. Okay, there are 4 types of narrative. The first, ontological personal narrative. Ontological narratives are personal. We tell ourselves about our place in the world and about our own personal history. Jadi, personal narrative ini menjelaskan cerita tentang momen dalam hidup, namun bukan cerita tentang seluruh hidup, tapi fokus pada satu peristiwa atau momen dalam hidup. For example, biography. Okay, the second, public narrative. Public narratives are stories elaborated by and circulating among social and institutional formation larger than the individual, such as the family, religious or educational institution, political or activist group, the media, and the nation. Ya, jadi seperti namanya, narasi publik itu cerita yang dielaborasikan dan beredar di antara formasi sosial dan kelembagaan yang lebih besar dari individu, seperti keluarga, lembaga agama, pendidikan, kelompok politik atau aktivis, media, bangsa, dan lain-lain. Misalnya dengan cara share stories. The next, conceptual narratives. The conceptual challenge posed by narrative is to develop a social analytic vocabulary that can accommodate the nation, social life, social organization, social action, and social identity are narratives. The last, meta-narrative. As narratives in which we are embedded as contemporary actors in history, our sociological theories and concepts are encoded with aspects of these meta-narratives. Okay, next slide. There are features of narratives. The first, temporality. Found the lack of strict chronological order in the book misleading and decide to introduce chronology by cutting, pasting, and shifting the chapter around. Next, selective appropriation. Out beyond ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a pilot. Next, relationality. Relationality entails the that is impossible to make sense of an isolated event, and for an event to be interpreted, it has to be conceived as an episode, one part of a large configuration of event. Jadi, naratif ini menuntut kita untuk memahami maknanya dari setiap peristiwa tunggal dengan peristiwa lain. The last, causal involvement. Causal involvement that allows us to make moral sense of events because it enables us to account for why things happen, the why a given narrative suggests they happen. Okay, next slide. Okay, the conclusion. Pragmatics is the study of meaning of uterine in relation to the context, which involves how a speaker produces an uterine and how the listener interprets. And the author maintained that in order to obtain the coherence of a target language text from a source text during the process of translation, a translator can utilize the following approach: retention of a text. Okay, I think enough presentation for our group. Sekian, kurang lebihnya mohon maaf. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.